Hey everyone, I'm Klloo. Welcome back to some more Flesh and Blood. So, we're still trying to make this deck work. Last time, definitely didn't go too well, but that's where the fun comes into it. So, I like to obviously build a deck and then constantly refine it every time we play and sort of figure out how exactly we can make it function. Maybe not competitive, but still make it function as a deck. So I think an important first step is properly understanding what we can do that other heroes can't. I mean, we have Warrior, we have Wizard, we have Draconic, all for a reason. So how does that make the Emperor Dracai better than, say, Dorinthia or just Kano, just running a Wizard deck or just running a weapon attack deck? What can we do that makes us special? And the big pull of it is the Flame Scale Furnace chestplate. So the ability to use that to generate resources to sort of overcome our can only play red cards in our deck, and of course to lead into our somewhat of a finisher, I think I'm going to call it, rather than a use as soon as possible type ability, to actually just pull out Command and Conquer and use it as a last attack. So what is our structure then? Well, step one, we have to play a card. We have to pitch and play a red card. If we don't play a red card, we can't actually activate Flame Scale Furnace. And then we can't obviously get the extra resources from the furnace. So then, if this is our main objective, how should we build a deck? How should we plan around this mechanic? Because just trying to get to 3 every time is not functional. You know, we play a 0 card, maybe, and then we pitch 3. Or we pitch 2, I guess, to activate the furnace, because you have to pay 1, and then you get 2, and then you pitch another 1 to play Command and Conquer. And all in all, that's a pretty crappy turn. Just playing a 0-cost card and Command and Conquer. That's horrible, and it also means we have no room to actually defend, which is a big thing, because we want to be able to defend. We have a lower HP pool than every other hero, so we need to be able to actually use some of our cards to defend. So then the next question is, well, how do we become more efficient with our resources? And I think the approach I'm going to tackle first is to try and pull from Dorinthia. We're going to use Dawnblade, and essentially the idea is to just use the Flamescale Furnace to generate a lot more resources than Dorinthia maybe could originally. Again, it's hard to tell, because the whole premise about any other hero is, for instance, you can have, say, 2 blue cards. You pitch them, you get 6. So using half your hand, you can get 6 resources to do anything you want, to play any of the other 2 cards, or to swing with your weapon. With us, to get 6 is somewhat impossible. We can pitch 1, play 1, pitch 1, play 1, pitch 1, so this would mean we need something in our arsenal, for instance. Pitch 1, and then get an extra 3. So even if we do all that, we only get 5 resources in comparison to someone who can actually run blue cards. So we need to figure out how exactly we can bridge this gap and make what from every angle I look at it looks like a really bad ability in terms of card and resource economics, and turn it into a positive. So we're going to continue refining the deck and see what exactly we can do. And I think the first thing to sort of scrap is the Draconic cards. There is no possible way we can make this work. We just don't have the ability to utilize Phoenix Flame like FaB or Dromai. And then even recycling it back into our hands or chaining cards together they're not good. There's a lot better things we could do. For instance, 0, 1, go again. We get Phoenix Flame, which is also, again, just 0 damage. Altogether, that's horrible. You know, we could pay 1, swing with our weapon, or there's a lot of 0-cost cards that, if we can chain together, are just better than the Draconic. Like, some of the combos, what do we have? It's like, so for instance, a better combo than any of the Draconic combos that I can see is just to use Lead the Charge into any big attack. For instance, we could use Exude Confidence. Deals 4, we can buff it if we want. We could use Enlightened Strike and actually grab the extra 2 damage, so now it does 7, or just to draw a card to cycle it. There's just a lot better card combos in the generic pool that I can see, especially if we're not comboing Phoenix Flame. So we're definitely going to scrap them all. So I'm going to play around with the deck. I'm going to see if we can make it workable, or just try and approach it with a different angle. So again, I am using Dawnblade, and we're going to try and, swing big with a little bit of wizard buffs. It's still kind of hard to see because there's not much that we're doing differently. The only thing is Flamescale Furnace, but again, as I crudely drew, our ability to generate resources off this is horrible if you just think about blue cards being able to pitch for 3. And then of course all the wizard's equipment is very baseline to wizard abilities, so it doesn't really combo well with our Dawnblade. Like if the wizard just had more generic style equipment, just still around their want to turn actions into instants, you could cheat out so many good cards from, say, the warrior. But you don't. They're all restricted essentially to playing arcane damage or wizard cards, so that equipment's not useful. Similarly, the warrior equipment is, but I think we can get better combos out of, say, Time Skipper into Tome of Aetherwind, so we draw 2, we fill up our pitch zone. Ideally, you could have a really, really perfect hand, which would be Time Skipper, Tome of Aetherwind into another tome and lead the charge. You still have Go Again. You've pitched 3 cards and you've gone 4 cards back. So you're up 1 card, and your pitch pile is already at 3, meaning we say we pitch 3 again, and our Flamescale Furnace all of a sudden is generating 7, which makes us far better. So the main thing we're looking for is 0 cost Go Again to trigger Flamescale Furnace, and anything that draws a card that we can sort of combo in. I wish the Draconic Tome was a lot easier to pull off. I think 4 or more Draconic Chainlinks is a bit hard. Right, I think I'm starting to get somewhere. So yeah, this is what I do. I enjoy the technical aspects of games, so I look into everything and I break it down, and that's what I'm doing for the deck to try and get to make it work. So I've color coordinated all our actions, reactions, and instants, and this is every card in our deck list currently. If I swap to deck, added cards only, so currently we're at 52 cards, right? Yeah, there, 52 out of 40. So we still need to make some cuts, but I just want to sort of explain the mentality behind the deck. The other thing, weapon choice. Where can I show it? There we go. So I am using the Quicksilver daggers, and 2 of them rather than a Centauri, I'm going to butcher it, Centauri saber and 1 dagger. The reason for this is obviously you give 1 dagger Go Again, and then they both have Go Again permanently for the turn, which I think is really good if you combo it into things like the Dusk Path Pilgrimage. So what about the card structure? So we still have Command and Conquer, which it's not too great because obviously it's our highest cost card at 2, and then if we're using our hero ability, it's 3. So it seems like a huge cost for how this deck wants to function. Other than that, we've got 4 attacks. So Command and Conquer, Inline Strike, Exude Confidence, and Ravenous Rabble. Out of that, only Ravenous Rabble has Go Again. So it means if we want to chain something into these attacks, we need to either use action points, so Lead the Charge, Captain's Call, or Razor Reflex, or alternatively, we have ways to generate weapon attack points, so in the purple here, and then use them as more of a finisher type of move. We also have these recycle cards, which these are any cards that allow me to essentially pull back an attack into our deck, and the initial purpose of the recycle cards to me was to simply get Command and Conquer back into our deck and allow us to use our hero ability. I think there's some better cards it's worth using on. So for instance, Ravenous Rabble. Ravenous Rabble does 5 damage minus 1 because you reveal a card and you take the pitch value off the damage, so it always deals 4. So it's a 4 damage attack for 0 that has Go Again, which is really good from the cards I'm seeing, the cards I'm able to pick from. For instance, Exude Confidence is a 4 attack card that costs 0, but it doesn't have Go Again. And then Line Strike, although it costs 0, you do have to put a card from your hand to the bottom of the deck, which is essentially the same as pitching a card. So in my mentality, it actually costs 1, even though the cost of the card is 0. But then, of course, you can get the card back through draw a card from the choose 1, but then you can't take advantage of its Go Again or its damage buff. So then how do we want this deck to function? Well, my mentality is now to pitch, attack, play a card that lets us attack again or buff our weapons, and then, you know, cycle through our attacks and then play one of our attack cards as a finisher for a round. This mentality of being able to use our daggers, for instance, allows us to now play defensively. I don't have to worry about maintaining all 4 cards in order to combo out Command and Conquer, which, again, if you didn't see my last one, it's a really, really tragic ability. At the Emperor's pay 3 to play it, you're essentially dumping your hand for 6 damage, which is, and no go again, which is just horrible in terms of card economy. There's 2 ways to go about that. One, like this deck, we're going to focus on weapons, and then the other, I'll try and build, is going to be a more mage-focused deck. So obviously this deck leans heavy into the warrior subtype rather than the mage subtype. Though I still love Tome of Aetherwind just because it's draw 2 and allows us to essentially pitch a lot more cards to take advantage of our Flamescale Furnace. Because if you think about it in terms of resources, say we want to attack 3 times with our daggers. That's already, we need to pitch 3. 3 for 3 damage, which is horrible, but obviously we have lots of ways to buff it. So 3 for 3, meaning we want to be able to draw more cards and then actually be able to use our Flamescale Furnace. If we pitch 3 to attack 3 times, we can then pitch 1 more, use our Flamescale Furnace and get 4, which means we can play another card if we had one. This is where we need to draw. Or we can obviously chain into our hero ability and use Command and Conquer, which to me is a far better turn, attacking 3 times and then using Command and Conquer. But again, the only way this works is if we can actually draw cards and cycle through cards, or obviously put them in our arsenal. Other than that, we have weapon buffs turn. So Slice and Dice and Visit the Imperial Forge are insanely good from my perspective. So Visit the Imperial Forge. Sword and dagger attacks have piercing 3 this turn. So for this whole turn, if the opponent tries to block with equipment, we gain 3 damage. Seems really good. Slice and Dice is even better. Whenever you attack with a sword or dagger this turn, if it's the first weapon attack this turn, it gains +1. If it's your second weapon attack this turn, it gains +3. Now, we still need 8 more cards to cut. So, the easiest way to do it is obviously just start from the top and prune away cards that do something we can do for cheaper. So, for instance, Sharpened Steel. Sharpened Steel is your next weapon attack gains +3. On Guard is your next weapon attack gains 3, except it costs 1. So it's definitely on the chopping block because we can do it for cheaper, which is a lot better. What I'm learning about Flesh and Blood is you want to set up your deck in a way that they filter down into these better combos. So the last cards you have are the cards you're sort of searching for to use together with other cards. So for instance, Tome of Aetherwind. Although we don't want to use that at the end of the game, we don't want to use that at the start of the game because we want to make sure, A, we have Lead the Charge with it, or some other way to generate Go Again. So because of that, we would normally pitch Tome of Aetherwind near the start of the game, and then as we're building to winning, that's when we can take the time to actually play it. So because of that, cards like Nature's Path Pilgrimage are too slow in a sense, and too situational. If we use it at the start, we're losing out on the flexibility of playing card, even though we do obviously get a card. Not only that, if we play it when we have a card in our arsenal, we can't use it. It's too situational in my opinion, so gets cut. What are we down to? 44. So we have to make 2 more cuts essentially, because I am running just 2 copies of each card. I'm not obviously at the point where we can look at it in a competitive sense and pick apart and dissect which cards should have 1 copy, which cards should have multiple. So I'm just trying to keep it nice and simple. To be honest, I think the actual card that gets cut is Enlightened Strike, simply because we're losing a card to play it, and then if we draw again from it, we lose its ability to go again. I think it just has too much of a toll on this style of play, the fact that we're limited to red cards. So I think we'll cut it and we'll just try and run the deck like it is now. And we're going to play a bit more defensively and just try to swing through with our weapons, exhaust the opponent's hand. Damn, this would have been a interesting matchup, but it looks like they've disconnected. I guess we want to go first. See if they start. No, perfect. So Reiner shall be interesting. I did swap back to the Centauri Saber, just giving it some thought. it's just a bit too niche going for 2 dual daggers with only 1 card to trigger it. Anyway, nice and simple. Plunder Run into Ravenous Rabble. 4 into, you guessed it, another Ravenous Rabble. And then lastly, we will just attack our Saber, see if we can do some damage. We've made them obviously lose some of their cards, we've lost some of our cards. They've destroyed their equipment. Yeah, I think they're using... Is this the basic deck? No. No, I don't think Reiner... I'm trying to think about the basic precon deck. Don't need to react. Okay, we draw back. Got a decent set of cards. Blade Run is one of the better ones in this deck. So target one-hand weapon. Attack gains go again. Your next weapon attack this turn gains +3. So Centauri Saber into Quicksilver Dagger. They passed. Right? Interesting. Captain's Call is just a way to go again. Most likely we're doing Centauri Saber. We're pitching... What do we want to pitch? Probably the Tome at this point. They block, we play Blade Runner, or they don't block, we still play Blade Runner, and Captain's Call, because then we can still play in the swing. Or, well, I guess, no, we want to pitch it for our Quicksilver Dagger, since our next weapon attack gains +3. Cool, and then we can attack with our Quicksilver Dagger. Which actually, no. How do we want to play this? Do we want to... If we play this, we pitch that, we get 3, we go to 2, so we can't actually play our... Though we could pop our gold token, which I think is a somewhat better play. So Flamescale Furnace will pitch in the swing, we get 3, pop our gold token. We got Strategic Planning, which isn't quite necessary, but it's a card we can put into our arsenal. And then we'll just attack with our Quicksilver Dagger. Not blocking, interesting. So already this feels a lot better, the fact that we can just swing through instead of worrying about continuing with combos and whatnot. Do we want to play Strategic Planning? We have no way to get the resource, right? So pass. Okay. Pitch Zone. What do we want? We want Captain's Call in the swing and then the Tome. Add Strategic Planning to our arsenal. Now we can defend. Although it looks like our next turn is pretty much the same. So he's intimidating, that's fine. For the most part, I'm probably not going to block, and it's just a race to beat down one another. So what can we combo? Probably want to use Flamescale Furnace. We definitely want to use Slice and Dice, since it's permanent, and we can use it for both attacks. So it'll probably be Slice and Dice into the Centauri Saber, then Blade Runner into the Quicksilver Dagger for a big bit of damage. What are they doing? They're just attacking for 9. We can block with our Flamescale Furnace. And then I don't want to dump any cards. So we take 7. Probably at some point they can, yeah, one turn KOs. We have to get rid of Blade Runner. It's unfortunate. So the health ball is definitely the biggest disadvantage to the Emperor. I think because of it, you kind of want to go the mage route. Or wizard route, sorry. Yeah, they win. Interesting. I guess I lose my Flamescale Furnace to block. But they most likely just win next turn anyway. Because, for instance, say I use Command and Conquer at our highest damage. They're probably not going to dump their hand. We'll play through. We'll see if we can make something happen. Next weapon attack gains go again. I think I want to do Slice and Dice. We still have to pitch though, that's the issue, because I don't have the Flamescale Furnace anymore. Which is a bit annoying. So we have to play this round a bit slower. Next weapon has go again. If you attack with a weapon this turn, it gains +3. I think that's what we want to play. We want to play Hit and Run, pitch, Slice and Dice, unfortunately. Then we can't play Razor Reflex either. So I guess we want to pitch. Well, we need to pitch 2 if we're attacking with both. I guess just Hit and Run. Attack. We're pitching both, so it doesn't really matter. Right now, the dagger itself doesn't seem useful. I think I'd rather two Centauri Sabers, because most of the time we're going again and then just attacking. So that one extra damage might be a bit better. But it looks like they're not going to block, so they're just going to really try and beat us down. Which is pretty easy if they're exiling the majority of our hand. Oops. I was not meant to do that. Oh well. So yeah, so we have to dump our hand, essentially, to block. I think the equipment is the issue here. So I haven't really transitioned away from drawing and cycling into Command and Conquer. I think if we stuck, say, the Arcanite Skullcap, which I don't like using because, again, I don't have a copy of it in real life, so I feel sort of cheaty. But I can use Valiant Dynamos. I do have that. And then at least we can use that to block and replenish it through attacks. Discard a random card, gains 2. If you discard 6 or more, draw 2 cards. Man, they just have such a good way to cycle. There's not enough card support as it is for this hero. Pitched a card with probably greater than 6, right? Yep. Yeah, because it also means we wouldn't have lost our Flamescale Furnace, and I could have stuck my boots on if I had, say, Valiant Dynamos. And then we would have had the resources to attack with both, which may have forced him to actually defend more. Well, he's got 9. Can we even get to 9? No, we can't. So it's 2, 5, 8. We're 1 short because none of our equipment has defense. So I'm just going to pass and obviously lose. I will get this to work. That's going to be my overall goal. I just want to win 1 game with him before I move on to, say, just Classic Constructed and building a proper deck. Anyway, I'll make the tweaks to the equipment and then we'll give it another go next time around. So, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Ooh, we shall continue to learn and refine our understanding. Yeah.